Hey guys, this is Graham with TutorialClarity, and in this tutorial I'm going to be bringing you another effect in After Effects. It's a pretty sweet, pretty short, light swipe flicker with particles thing. Basically this thing right here. So we're going to be using two plugins, Trapcode Shine and Trapcode Particular. Let's go ahead and get down to things. I'm going to start a new project. Make sure you're always in a new project. Go to Composition, New Composition, and we're going to call this let's call it Main. Make sure you have the settings here. I have my duration set to about 15 seconds. Completely up to you. I'm going to hit OK. And we're going to be creating a couple layers just off the bat. First thing is we're going to create a light layer, New, and Light. Now this is very important. Make sure that your light is titled emitter with a capital E, M-I-T-T-E-R, because our particles are going to be emitting from the source point of that light. I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get around to it. Just it's very important that the spelling is correct there. Now we're going to create our actual particles layer, layer New, and Solid. We're going to call this Particles. And the next layer is going to be our text layer. So layer New Text. I'm just going to type it in here. Type whatever you want. And let's make that white. Turn on my tile action safe. Make sure it's in the center like such. And I have spacing over here set to 125 in between the characters because I don't want the light rays that we're going to be putting in to be all smushed together. I want it to have some, volumetric diversity. So I'm going to have 55 pixels in terms of height of the size of the font, and I'm using Arial. Use whatever font that you prefer. Turn off my tile action safe. Don't need that anymore. And now we're just going to add some effects to the Tutorial Clarity text. Alright, so I'm going to make sure my Tutorial Clarity layer is selected. And the first effect that we're going to apply is the Trapcode Shine. Trapcode Shine. And then we're going to add a glow by going to Effect, Stylize, Glow. Alright, now we're just going to collapse the glow because we're going to keep the default settings there. And, right, now for Trapcode Shine, we're going to set the ray length to 11. The boost light settings, we're going to set that to about 3. And we're going to set the color to white for all the rays. There we go. You can set it to whatever color you like, but I prefer the white light. And, is there anything else we need to change here? Make sure your shine opacity is 100 and your transfer mode is set to add. That way your text stands out. And that's pretty much it for that layer. We're going to get around to the expressions and tie in the light opacity later. So I'll actually keep this expanded because what we're going to be messing with is the shine opacity or source opacity, either or. But yeah, let's move on to the particles layer. Go here, make sure your particles layer is selected. Go to Effect, Trapcode, and Particular. Now pull down the emitter tab. This is what I was talking about. Make sure your emitter is set to light, and it will automatically start emitting from the emitter. That's why it was important that your emitter text or emitter title was titled capital E-M-I-T-T-E-R, otherwise it won't work. Alright, just some settings. We're going to set the particles per second to 0 by default, because depending upon the audio levels, we want it to jump, at certain points, and that comes along with expressions. But by default, we don't want it to be emitting any particles whatsoever. Velocity, that's going to be pretty high. We're going to set that to about 500, because we want them to come out at a very, very high velocity. We don't want them to come out slow, because they kind of streak across the screen. Pretty interesting. But we're going to go to emitter X, set that to 2000, emitter Y 2000, and emitter Z we're going to set that to 2000. I'm just going to expand this here so you can better see. And alright, we're going to close up the emitter thing here. We're pretty much done with that. Going to go to particle, and we're going to set the particle life very, very short, 0.2 seconds. We pretty much want these things to be streaking across the screen with a very high velocity, and then we want them to disappear near instantly. So we're going to set the life to 0.2, the particle type to glow sphere. Sphere feather amount is going to stay at 50, and we're going to say the size is very small, about 2. And we also, that's just the default size when they're emitted. But you can also up this, the size random, which we want to do to add depth, or the illusion of scale between particles and distance. And we're going to set the size random to 100%. So it's going to be 100%, usually just generally within the range of 2, our default size there. Alright, now our opacity is going to do the same thing as the size random, going to give us the illusion of distance, as Bob Ross likes to say. So we're going to set the opacity random to 100%. By default, make sure the opacity is 100. And let's go down to the physics. Let's add a little bit of wind. If you go into physics and then pull down the air tab, and we're going to set the wind X to negative 350.0. Very nice. And believe it or not, that is pretty much all we are going to be doing with the particle layer there. At this point, we have our particles ready, we have our text ready, and all those things. You can see the lights there, but we want to tie things in with the animation, and that requires expressions. But what do expressions go off of? This is intuition. They go off of the sound levels. So we need to import our sound. We're going to go to import multiple files. I'm going to go to my desktop, control click my stutter whoosh and torpedo wave. Yeah, we're going to hit OK, and that's pretty much it. Now they're in After Effects, and we're going to drag them into our composition below the emitter layer, like such. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to expand both of these, actually. And I'm going to apply my effects or my animation keyframes, as done in the previous tutorial, to my stutter whoosh. This is really just going to be more keyed up. The first one, the torpedo, it's that quick sound you hear at the beginning, and where the text animates on, and I have my stutter whoosh here, which kind of gives that, vibrato fade out. But really, before we do that, let's take care of all our manual animation, the things that we're just going to be aligning. So I'm going to drag my stutter whoosh here out to about 20 frames, about there. Just going to make sure it's lined up. Well, what you do is we're going to go here to our TutorialClarity layer, and we're going to set animate, and we're going to click that, and then you have a bunch of options here, but we're going to animate opacity. And After Effects actually allows us to animate the opacity per character. So we're going to pull down the range selector, set the opacity here, make sure it's specifically for the under animator range selector, make sure it's that opacity and not the transform opacity, otherwise you won't see anything. Set that to 0, okay? And we're going to animate per character from the beginning to when our sound whoosh comes on, which is at 20 frames. I moved it out there. So we're going to set a keyframe for start, and we're going to go up to 20 frames, and we're going to insert a keyframe there. And it really is as simple as on this keyframe setting the value to 100%. And you'll see that After Effects just takes care of the rest. Since our shine effect, our Trapcode Shine plugin, is already applied, the cool benefit of this is as the characters come on, they kind of give that stream, which is very, very interesting. Now we're just going to bring this stuff back up. I'm actually going to keep it out here because we're going to be modifying this opacity. We're going to be applying a expression to it. Scratch that, Graham. Take that previous part out. Okay. Alright, we're just basically going to pull these up here, and like such, pull that up, pull that up. Now we're going to be adding our expressions to actually tie things in with the animation. But before we can add expressions, we need to convert the audio to keyframes, so our expressions have something to work with. Just going to make sure this is exactly at the 20th frame, and I'll show you why, because our audio keyframes need to start at that point too. So I have my stutter whoosh wave. It can be any effect you want. The internet is full of sound effects. And I'm going to go to Animation, Keyframe Assistant, and Convert Audio to Keyframes. Now we have our, if we expand this, you'll see, go under Effects, we have our left, right in both channels. I'm going to Control left click the left and right, hit the delete button.